Hi, we are Peter and Eva Medalek, and we're here to talk to you about our purchase in Berlin and why we picked Berlin to move to. Peter and I first met in New York a lot of years ago, but back in 2002 when we started dating, Peter is originally from Germany, so he was actually planning to move back to Berlin just as he and I had started dating, and I caused him to change his mind and stay in America a little longer. So Peter's probably going to tell you about how we met, which is a really cute story.
So, well, Eva was dating my best friend at the time, and well, convinced him that she would be better off with me, and eventually he agreed. He also came a couple of years later to our dream wedding in Berlin, and I think he had a good time.
Yes, he had a very good time, but that's another story. Basically, Peter and I had always discussed eventually moving to Berlin a little bit more permanently. One, for me to learn the language, and secondly, because all of his family is still in Germany, and he's got to fly back all the time to see them. And we found ourselves spending New Year's in Berlin a lot, Christmas in Germany, so it just make it that much more easier if we were to stay over there. So, but the problem was he wanted to purchase in Berlin, and I wanted to rent because I was afraid
Well,
that...
yeah, because prices are going up, way up, very fast. Berlin is still one of the cheaper places in Europe, especially in Germany, and so I think we really have to act fast and not wait another year or two to make that decision to buy something.
Yeah, but originally, honey, we were, prices were cheap, and I didn't see it as a good investment. If it was cheap enough to rent there, why buy? And what if I just didn't like it and wanted to come home? So,
well, that wasn't really an option because, well, ideally, I really wanted to live, get a house on a lake and be away from it all.
Yeah, and I want to be in the middle of everything because Berlin is cool. Shopping, restaurant, clubs, everything. So basically,
True.
we ultimately compromised and we decided to buy, but in the middle of the city. And then that came with its own set of challenges as basically people who earn their living in the United States trying to purchase something in Berlin. And Peter actually dealt really well with those challenges.
Well, it did keep me up a couple of nights out here in California just to be able to speak to the right people with a 9-hour time difference. So that made it a little bit less comfortable for me, so I did have to set an alarm, get up in the middle of the night, and call the right person.
Well, anyway, Peter went over first when we started looking at apartments, and so I gave him, the Germans like to research, so this was a perfect job for him to go over there.
Yeah, I think I did a good job.
Well, it happened to be during the World Cup, so there was no problem for him to sure, honey, I'll fly over and look at apartments during the World Cup so I can watch World Cup games in Europe. So that worked out great, didn't it, sweetie?
Yes, then they do have the public viewing, which was definitely a great time to be in Berlin for the apartment search.
But what was great was when I finally joined him, he had them all narrowed down for my review. So I had a lot of conditions for this to happen for me to buy. I needed 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, washer, dryer, dishwasher, full kitchen, and the biggest thing was I needed an elevator building because we had been walking up like 17,000 floors to his sister's house every time we went over there and stayed, and I was just like, I'm not climbing any more stairs.
Yeah, but she's only on the 4th floor.
Which is the 5th floor in America. They're a little weird about how they count floors over there. But anyway, Peter took me to see a lot of actually really nice apartments, but seeing as how in Germany we have to come up with more than half down as opposed to 20% down here in the U.S., it limited our choices.
Yeah, but that made it a lot more complicated because as a foreign investor and a couple making most of our money here in the U.S. Banks weren't really interested in giving us a loan for an apartment, so we did have to come up with a lot of the cash ourselves.
And because we didn't have all of the cash and we had to wipe out our savings, that made me really nervous, and ultimately we leaned on Peter's family to help us with the balance of what we needed to come up with.
So now I have to be really nice to my mother and my sister for a very long time.
Anyway, it was funny because we are a married couple who typically have very different taste, but we do have one rule: if we both don't agree upon it, it doesn't happen. And it's funny because during our apartment search, everything he loved, I hated. Everything I loved, he hated. And at one point, Peter said to me that I was just squashing his dream of living in Berlin, and we had a big fight over this. And Peter and I actually rehab houses as one of the ways we tend to make money here in the U.S. And the last apartment we saw, we went in and it was completely gutted and full of dust, and we looked at each other and we were in love, and we were like, this is it. Didn't have an elevator, was on the 3rd floor, was very small, only had 1 bedroom, so we had to actually sacrifice a lot of things on my wish list to actually get an apartment we could afford, but at least it was brand new, and we could actually have a clean slate, and I can decorate it. So that's actually how we ended up in Berlin. Thank you, Lexi, for barking during our video, and hopefully you'll approve our video and you'll come to Berlin to see our lovely apartment. Cheers.
And Prost.
Prost.
See yourself.